And good evening, everybody. Welcome to Going nuCEar, full-blown coverage of the Land, part of the Land Multimedia Group. I'm Ethan Greenberg, along with my co-hosts Drew Hagenbaugh and Mike Pellegrini. And joining us tonight, a very special guest, the one, the only, Zach Jackson, Browns NFL writer for The Athletic, host of the Zach Jackson and Friends podcast. Do you have lots of friends? I think you do.
No, the only one and only here is the Hector Marinero jersey over your shoulder, Ethan. But yeah, no, I just recorded a new episode a little bit ago and watched practice 6 today. 4 more practices this week, and this team has a long way to go.
Oh, yeah, we'll get into that. We'll get into that. And folks, you're probably familiar with also Zach. He appears on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. You are sometimes on the radio on 92.3 The Fan, chopping it up with the fellas there. And you're also an author. You got multiple. How many books have you written now, Zach?
I've written 3 books. Yeah, 3. So no new one coming anytime soon. But yeah, no, just here to talk some ball. So let's do it.
Let's do it. Thank you so much for being with us. We absolutely appreciate you giving us this time because we know this is a crazy time of year for you. You've seen a lot of Browns training camps. How many is this now that you've seen up close and personal?
I mean, my first was 2000, so I haven't been at all of them up close, but I've been at all of them in some regards. So I would explain why I don't look as young as I used to.
You're doing all right, buddy. You are doing all right. Now, if you had to rank this season's team based relative to what you've seen in prior training camps, where does this one rank in terms of like best to worst? Is it somewhere in the middle, somewhere toward the bottom half?
I think it's unfair because they're only 6 days in and it is new. But I will say that today's practice reminded me of 2009 when I think they went 11 days without scoring a touchdown. Like the offense was that bad. And that was the second of 6 that it's that bad. So can you understand why? Were my expectations much higher? No, but like, you know, it's ugly, and some of it, like I said, is understandable, and some of it is it's fair to wonder right now if there is an NFL starting quarterback on this team. So it's not fair to reach the conclusion, but that's a fair question to ask. No
Right. And I think that's what people have to understand. It's a fair question, and that's all it is. It is a fair question. You're very honest in your assessment of the quarterback situation. Again, I know this is very early, but, you know, these guys have all been here for, well, at least Shador and Dylan have been here. This is their second year each. And obviously Deshaun's been here a number of years. Where does this group, this quarterback room, kind of rank in your mind in terms of the quarterback rooms we've seen in the past?
Well, right now it's kind of like the Kaiser Osweiler Kessler. Right now. So
just throw up in my mouth a bit.
Talking with someone in the league when I threw out my theory of how bad it was, he said as bad as BQ versus Anderson in 2009. And that was before I compared 9 to. I actually had forgotten that conversation because it was about at 6:30 this morning and I wasn't fully awake yet. It was just kind of when I caught up with this person. So look, Shador Sanders was a developmental quarterback a year ago, and he is a developmental quarterback now. So I'm not writing the end on him. Dylan Gabriel brings a certain accuracy and professionalism to the group. We just know he's not a starting quarterback. Like that's been written. He just does not have the physical tools. And Deshaun Watson at one time was a great player in the National Football League, and that time was a long time ago because he looks completely unplayable. And so the Browns should have known that, quite frankly, and should have operated differently for many reasons, and we can get into some of them. They didn't. They haven't. So again, 6 days in, the pads have only been on for 2 days. Everything's new. Like, even if it was going well, I would say, hey, it's probably not as good or as bad right now as it seems. But like we're getting to the point where it's just like, don't ever play Deshaun Watson. Don't even entertain the thought because he can give you nothing. And then you just have to see what the other guys can do. Because if he's unplayable, then Gabriel's untradeable.
You know, that's true.
And there's another question to ask here that I have asked around. It's like, okay, should they have done something else at the quarterback room, and what else would that have been? And those are two fair questions. But if they were trying to win this year, they would have done something else. So, you know, this is all about 27 and 28.
Oh, that is so painful. I know it's been said by others in the Cleveland media that exact conversation and statement has been made. It seems kind of evident. have you been able to ascertain from the coaches, your own eyes or others, what it is that Sanders needs to do as part of his development to make him deemed a legitimate starting quarterback?
No, I think Monken's actually been kind of upbeat about the improvements that he's made. And, I've watched every throw of Shedeur in 2 training camps now. And, he's a pretty accurate thrower. I would say it's easy to say it's his calling card. And when he's on, and it, right? Like it shows in his body language. It hasn't always been on. It's been good. He's had the best throws. He's had the best days. He's also, struggled. And I don't think the numbers kind of tell the story. I think in an accuracy standpoint, Shedeur is blowing out Deshaun Watson. Okay. I think in general, it's fair to say Shedeur Sanders is leading the competition. He's not necessarily winning it. Does that make sense? Like he's Absolutely. Not gone out and consistently make you say like, wow. So I think it's going to change in a couple of days. I think on Saturday, the installation is supposed to be done. On Thursday, they're going to have a lighter practice on Friday. And I think on Saturday in full pads, I think it's going to be let it rip. And I would expect to see more number 1 reps for Shedeur Sanders. Now, what does that mean for next week? Am I right about that? I don't know. But I think Todd has walked the line between honesty and positivity. I think he's leaned towards positivity, and I really don't think he's jumping to any conclusion. But he didn't name a starter in June because he couldn't, because nobody won. And certainly through the first 6 days here, nobody's won.
I just saw a great post by Daryl Ryder that really summed it up well about just what he is seeing out there with Watson, Sanders, and Gabriel. And don't mind the snoring in the background. That is Mike's dog, and he really enjoys our show.
I'm hearing a little bit of feedback, actually. I'm not hearing any snoring, just so you guys know. I'm hearing a little bit of an echo.
Okay. Not sure where that is coming from. I will make sure to check my levels here. Don't know if it's on my end or elsewhere. I hear some kind of a humming, but I'm not certain where that is.
It's just a little bit of like white noise. That's all. It's not necessarily.
I can hear it too a little bit.
Wanted you guys to know. I wasn't hearing it earlier. That kind of went away if somebody pressed something.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. Sorry about that, Zach. Appreciate that.
It's not my fan in the background, is it? Because we don't have aircon in the UK. So
that you know what, Mike? I bet that may very well be it.
That might have been it.
What's the temperature there? Yeah, sure. That's fine. I mean, Zach,
I don't hear
anything.
Yeah, that quieted it down. Well, we won't make you sweat it out too long, Mike. We won't. I swear. Do you know what? Zach, this guy is the most dedicated, Cleveland sports fan I know, because, he literally is in the UK, and it is, 2
in the morning, 2:30, yeah, on 2:30 in the morning, yeah.
Is that not crazy? This guy loves Cleveland sports so much. The Guardians will be on the West Coast, and this guy's up. This maniac is up watching the games live.
I enjoyed my week or so in London last year, and that's how I knew the 5 hours, because you get acclimated real quick and you try to tune in, especially during football season, to what's going on back here. But I can't believe Tottenham almost got relegated, right? That's what you get for letting the Browns and Jets in your stadium. It takes a while to get rid of that.
Now, Zach, you know that the three of us are all Tottenham supporters.
It was a cool stadium, top 10 that I've been in. Had never been there before. And it was really cool. And then following very much from afar, obviously, the fact that they almost got relegated and survived was cool. So I didn't get to go to a game this year. There just wasn't a good game in London, good match in London when I was there. But I got to go the first time around in 2017. Got to go to Crystal Palace.
when we lost to the Vikings and Deshaun Kaiser was the quarterback.
Yeah. Yep.
I recall watching.
They lost to the Vikings both times in London.
Yes, they did, and I can't believe we let Carson Wentz beat us last year.
And I still think that the reason that they have 6 of 9 on the road this year to start is they were supposed to play in the France game, and somebody stepped in and said, we're not sending the Browns there to the first game in Paris. So that's why the schedule's goofy like it is. I don't have that on authority, but
that's
I've just
an
never
interesting
heard
theory.
Of 6 games, 6 road games of the first 9.
Well, then
that's brutal.
We play 4 home games in a row, and technically there's that bye week in there, so it's 5 consecutive weeks at home. I've never seen that.
Yeah, so that swap, I think, that's just such a schedule oddity. I think something happened there.
Right. Now, you talked about Shedeur and what he's been doing for last season into this season. did the training camp last year and the whole process with Stefanski stunt his growth and where he is at this point?
No, I don't think so. I think he had a really good training camp last year until the end. He wasn't able to build on the momentum that he had created in that first preseason game because he got that abdominal strain, right? And then he came back, and I don't know if he went back too early or wasn't ever 100%, but the last preseason game was a disaster. So people have taken that and blown it way out of proportion. Like he was throwing to equipment guys. The Browns were constantly signing wide receivers because they had so many injured. So this wasn't a drill when the rest of practice was going on over here. They just didn't have a wide receiver because they didn't have any healthy ones. And the 4 that they had were in the special teams drill. So he was throwing to an equipment manager. That's all. The other ones were thrown to Jerry Jeudy and David Njoku, who didn't play special teams, so they were available. So
why wasn't that reported? Why was that never reported? I guess that's my fair question to you, because I would have loved to have known that.
Well, Ethan, I would. It's a fair question, and my answer is why. Like, who's even coming up with this shit to start with? Right? This is a football practice. You know, like when the special teams are here, the quarterbacks go over and do a drill, and they talk about what they've done, and they walk through the plays, and sometimes they do a throwing drill. And when they did on these particular days, they didn't have any wide receivers because they were all hurt. Like it was no deeper than that.
It's so funny. You must just crack up at reading some of the narratives that go on social media.
I cry more than I laugh, actually.
Well, I think we all do, but for different reasons.
For different reasons. That's fair.
You know,
that's fair.
How is the training camp under Monken compared to Stefanski and other former coaches?
It's certainly different than Stefanski's, and considering Kevin was here for 6 years, that's what we were very used to. You know, guys didn't stay for 6 years. We got to see 2 training camps at a time for a long time, right? So I would say it's probably too early to give a definitive answer on that. Certainly how they've structured the early practices, there's only one similarity in terms of doing simultaneous 7-on-7s. Other than that, it's just structured differently, and that's what the coaches are doing. So I would say compared to last year, this one is much more instruction-based with the brand new offense, where last year was built around we have to have a quarterback competition and we have to create live reps for these guys. And so they signed extra receivers because they were going to be doing double and triple the reps. Just some of them got hurt, right? So this year is structured differently. You know, they're breaking in a completely new offensive line. They're alternating quarterbacks. They're alternating left tackles. They've got offensive linemen who really haven't played multiple spots before, but I think in the next week or two will, as they take their turns. And they've got 2 talented rookie receivers who probably have been the story of camp, you know, outside of Jared Verse and Denzel Ward. And frankly, as bad as today was, like maybe it shows the value of Concepcion because he wasn't out there today. He went through drills. His shoulder's banged up. They think he's okay. They think Schlesinger's okay. They got a lot of injuries mounting. You know, I'd be a little alarmed about Mason Graham suddenly not being there. It's probably something minor. I haven't heard any different. But they have an emergency, a defensive tackle. They had another guy go down today. Tevin Jenkins, who they thought might win the right guard spot, has only been in 1 practice. You know, Kalia Davis, the defensive tackle, and Damari Mathis, the corner, guys who had the track to win roster spots, have only been in 1 practice. So I think I counted it's 20 practices by the time the preseason ends on August 27th. So we're 6 through. So like Thursday's a big one and Saturday's a big one. And then obviously we get to next week, and then it kind of turns the corner because when you're in the preseason, the only change you get is that 1 competitive practice against Buffalo. Other than that, you're kind of spacing it out. Hey, today is a day we refine and install, and today's a day we go at it. But it goes so fast. Like tomorrow's just a week, but in 2 more weeks, like it's the Buffalo scrimmage, right? And the week after the Buffalo scrimmage is the last preseason game, and it's over. So the 20 practices go really, really fast. And I think we'll know a whole lot more about a lot of things. Maybe not necessarily who the starting quarterback is, although it's clearly trending in one direction. But we're going to know a lot of things more at 12-13 than we do at 6.
Okay, that's fair. How good is the defense? Is it really good, or is the offensive line still gelling and that's more the issue?
Both. The defense is really good. The defense is really good. Now, for the practices, the offensive line is new and not in pads. So it's a hard job. It's a hard ask, right? But Schlesinger hasn't been out there. You know, in the spring, Delpit, Ward, a lot of those guys weren't out there. Schlesinger hasn't been out there much this summer, but the defense is good. Jared Verse looks phenomenal. Quincy Williams looks phenomenal. Emmanuel McNeil Warren is a dude, right? This is a dude. So You got to get through the summer. You got to get through the reps. And with a guy like McNeil Warren, who's never played on the NFL level, he's not technically a starter on this team. So what is his best role and how does that fit? How hard are they really looking for a fourth rusher? They did the Clowney flirtation. They tried to get Epinesa back in March. We're going to find all that out. And these are things that you just don't find until the game. So really, to kind of defend the offense for a minute, like when you're still in the installation stage and still figuring things out, we haven't seen how they want to run offense. We've seen the 6 things they're working on that day, right? But we haven't seen them come out and build drive after drive. Judkins here, Fannin here, they're just putting things in, and it's a different quarterback and left tackle every day.
Aha. That's a fair assessment there.
Yeah, so I had a couple questions to ask you real quick. With a lot of the offseason moves and, the trades that we've made and stuff like that, and with the draft, is there any positivity or any position groups that actually improved or got better?
Well, the wide receiver group is tremendously better. Like those 2 guys are the best guys immediately, right? In my article that comes out tomorrow, I just did a kind of a camp update in order of positions that I feel best about, and I put safety number 1. Now, what does that say about the state of the Browns right now? But like Delpit's locked up, Ronnie Hickman in a contract year looks great, and McNeil Warren's coming every day. And Chris Edmonds he's not going to make the team, but he's going to set the training camp all-time record for interceptions at this rate, right? So I would just put it like this. There are a lot of good young football players on this team. And I think in 4 months and then certainly in 12 months, we're going to know how many are great, how many are still on their way, how many are definitely in the plans. But like they have a lot of good young football players. And so like there's a path to where this year stinks and this quarterback position stinks, but the temperature is totally different next March than it was last March. And I think if you're a Browns fan, I think that's what you're hoping for. That's not to say that they won't win. That's not to say that there won't be a player come out of nowhere and a crushing injury that derails things and all of those things that happen in a real NFL season. But the theme of this season is, what do you really have in Graham, in Judkins? How far can McNeil Warren come? Is Austin Barber going to help this team? Where's that guy down the road that they pick up and trade or on the waiver wire that finds a role, maybe not even a full-time starter's role, but helps? Like Concepcion is super gifted, and that's obvious. What really is his role? He's a small guy who had drop issues. He can go. Like, is Denzel Boston ready to be a guy that gets 10 targets a game right away? It doesn't mean he has to be, but he might be. So that's what this is all about. Next off season, Jared Verse is going to get his money. They're going to start to sort out some other things, and they're probably going to be in a full-blown quarterback search. And if they're not, it means that something else happened and they're getting a veteran quarterback because they think they're ahead of schedule, or it means they lost so many games that they know that Shador's not the answer, right? And then they go forward from there. I mean, the middle ground is not – like if Shador shows progress and allows you to draft whoever you want, then that's great. That's the direct way out of this mess. But right now, the quarterback competition is between the guy who sunk the franchise and a guy who, if he gets a lot better, can be an average starting quarterback in this league. So realistically, this is headed to 27.
Yeah, and speaking of the QB room, we saw a few days ago Shador Sanders staying after practice with Taylor Green. What did you make of that? And why wasn't someone like Deshaun out there, who's a veteran in the league for about a decade now? Why isn't he out there teaching the rookie how to be an NFL ready quarterback? And why is it a second year? Well,
I would say 2 things. I would say I don't know that answer, but okay. I would say that just after practice isn't the only time that Deshaun could serve that role.
Yeah, that's very true.
Shador has stayed out after practice almost every practice that I've seen over those 2 years. That's part of his routine and part of his desire to get better. And I don't think that Deshaun can make extra throws. Like, I think there's only so many throws left in that shoulder, and that number might be 0. Quite frankly, what we'll see. But like it's a fair question. But these are the optics. Like for example, just the optics of things that training camp has gone mad with social media coverage. Okay, today someone tweeted, it showed up in my timeline, that Jerry Jeudy just made a phenomenal one-handed catch. And I'm not trying to kick on Jerry Jeudy, but what actually happened is there was an out to Jerry Jeudy. He dropped it. He came back. He caught it with one hand, but he was out of bounds. So if you were watching the play, it looked like it was a phenomenal one-handed catch, but they called the referee was right on top of it and called it out of bounds. So that was his second drop of the drill. So like, what does it matter? They're looking at the throw, they're looking at the route, they're looking at all, but it's perceived in two totally different ways.
Well, Zach, it's funny that you mentioned that exact play. They were talking about it on ESPN Cleveland when it happened. They were live when it happened, and Gerard Cherry was like, "That's a bad catch. You can't be having that." It's like, because it was a double catch, and then they didn't even mention the fact that he was actually out of bounds. That's just, it is crazy how two people. It goes to that whole eyewitness thing. Two people can see the exact same thing and come up with completely different conclusions. It's absolutely bonkers how that happens. Speaking of Jerry Jeudy, is there a world where he gets Amari Coopered? But
right now, Ethan, he's only on the team because they can't afford to cut him or trade him. Like, he's, same as Watson. Mm-hmm. So once they go down the road towards the trade deadline, if he would have any value and if their numbers would be in a certain place. Frankly, I haven't looked at the updated numbers since these extensions. I would imagine that they don't really affect this year's cap. And this team has proven that there's ways to create that. But for the most part, Judy's on the team because he has to be and won't be next year unless he has a phenomenal year. Like that's the reality of the situation. So because Concepcion and Boston are off to great starts. Isaiah Bond is off to an okay start. He didn't really have a training camp last year. Fannin is going to be probably still the target leader for this team, if not the leading receiver. And everything else is kind of in the mix. Cedric Tillman is probably going to be a San Francisco 49er or an Atlanta Falcon, but he's 2 injuries away from playing for the Browns. Malachi Corley and Gage Larvin don't have jobs on this team right now, but they might be playing for the Browns on September 20th. They might be. We don't know. So that's a thing. Like, Tillman's out there killing the threes because he's not a 3, but he's also not a starter. And he's been replaced by Denzel Boston, and he's only under contract for a year. So is these injuries mount, like he's the guy you trade for a backup linebacker or a 7th round swap, whatever it is. Yeah. But like, you also might need him. So I don't know.
Are you saying we don't have to see Larvin drop every punt that comes his way?
Yeah, Casey Concepcion is going to be the punt returner.
Okay, cool.
I know that. I know Denzel Boston's going to be the outside receiver, probably on the right-hand side most of the time, and Concepcion's going to be the punt returner. Titus Howard's going to be the right tackle. Zion Johnson's going to be the left guard. Spencer Fano's going to be the left tackle too. There's got to be a method to the way they're doing it right now. I think it's probably just trying to protect their depth and keep DeJuan Jones playing. Yeah. So there are some certainties, but there's a lot that's unwritten. I mean, obviously Quinshon Judkins is the number 1 running back on this team. He looks great. He's so much better than the other guys. You just worry about him holding up, both in terms of, obviously he had a crazy, pretty significant injury last year, and the workload. There's not another true running back on that. Rocket Sanders shows some promise, but you don't want Rocket Sanders doing too much. You want the ball in Quinshon's hands, and if you're trying to win games, and if you are winning games, it's the defense and Quinshon and Fannin. If you're not winning games, then why would you be giving the ball to Quinshon 28 times?
Yeah,
right. I don't know that nobody has reported anything. Apparently, Andrew Berry has kept it kind of tight to the vest, but is there any word on Joe Royer?
No, there's no Royer. I've checked around outside and have been met with silence, so I don't know. The only thing I can tell you is he was there, because otherwise, if he didn't show up for camp, he'd be on a certain exempt list, and he's not. So he is. Okay. He is just excused from the team right now. He is not. He counts on the 90-man roster. He can come back at any time, but there is no exemption for him or anything right now. And this is a guy that was certainly going to be on the team and probably playing in week 1. So the more time he misses, the more you wonder, how that goes, and then who else makes the team and how they go. And that's kind of what I talk about when we're not to the structure yet. Like, especially if Watson's the quarterback, this is going to be a lot of 3 tight ends, 2 tight ends, and a fullback buttoned up, everything off of rollout play action. Whereas if it's Shedeur, I think it's probably more, wide open stuff. Harold Fannin is the tight end, but sometimes in the slot and sometimes out of the backfield, and all of these ways to maximize him. So we're just in the very early stages with all that.
If Royer isn't around, who's tight end 2?
Well, tight end 2 is probably Jack Stahl.
Okay.
Or Blake Whiteheart or Brendan Bates, who's like a true blocker. And again, like
right.
there's only so many roster spots for these guys. Hang on one second. I got an important text here from my mother. I had to respond to that.
Yeah, please respond.
But
yeah,
like
no
if
problem.
he's, if he like Carson Ryan might be the fullback, might be a tight end, might be on the practice squad. We don't know. And again, we just haven't seen. We've seen Michael Burton and Carson Ryan work as the fullback, but until we see like game action, how much are they going to use a fullback? I don't know. It's one of these things that how it goes. Like Harold Fanan is not a hand in the ground, 80 plays a game tight end, right? You're not using him the right way if you're doing that. So some combination of Brendan Bates and Jack Stahl are going to play snaps for this team. And if the passing game progresses, eventually those guys are going to be wide open in some situations because nobody's going to guard them. And if the passing game doesn't progress, it's going to look like every other passing game they've had the last 26 years.
It would be kind of brutal there. And I think you answered this in a bit or a little bit earlier, and we kind of touched on it. Why does it seem that fans and supporters of various players, no names please here, are more outraged by the media coverage than the players themselves?
Well, I think the players, especially at this time of the year, should be too busy to care and are concentrated on their thing. Yeah, I mean, some people do use training camp as some sort of tool to just prove themselves right or to get angry about certain things. And, I can't really answer that. Certainly how training camp is consumed is changed by cell phone video, right? And by things like a quarterback tracker and all of that. And certainly how training camps operate have changed because now you have all these rules and restrictions. It's not, the knockdown, drag out 5-week, 2-a-day camp that it used to be. But at the core, Ethan, it's still getting ready for a team. And why you see such wild results and different things in the preseason is the preseason means something. It doesn't mean much in the big picture, but it means something different to all 32 teams. The Chiefs are trying to accomplish something completely different than the Browns are, than the Ravens are, than all of these teams. And so what I would say to Deshaun and Shedeur and everybody supporting them is they should go to Chicago next week and beat up the threes for the Bears, because why would the Bears in the first preseason game be playing any starters, right? Unless there's something I don't know about. But like they're going to have different things they're going to work on and different guys they want to see in different spots, and whether that's playing the rookies or hoping guys can get sacks and picks, I don't know. But you kind of roll it out there and you see, and every day in training camp, you're working on something different. And any player or coach who's worried about how that's perceived in the Twitter sphere is wasting his time and his team's time.
Yeah, it's just bonkers to see the reactions, the visceral reactions, one way or another. And in fact, I read someone posted that in a small section, it maybe wasn't a lot of people, but in a small section, there were fans today booing Watson. Were you aware of this?
I did hear one person yelling at him and telling him to get off the field and never come back. That's the first I've heard that. Now, that's only the third day that fans have been there. I think only the second of the 3 days that the main action was up. So I heard it. But then after that, I wasn't in front of the fans, so I don't know. And frankly, I don't hear real well anyway. But it was a light
That's
crowd.
Probably good. That's probably good.
It was a light crowd. So if you were standing in a certain spot during a certain drill, you could hear the crowd without trying.
Wow.
And I would say it was one or two guys more than like the crowd, but maybe later it changed. I don't know but the 15 minutes I was in that particular spot, I heard that, and I saw a few different people sent me some version of that tweet.
Okay. That is fair. And I think, again, you may have already touched on this. What would be the absolute best case scenario for the Browns and their future for the results of this season? Is it X quarterback starts, plays, and wins X number of games, or this, so on and so forth, if you get what I'm asking?
So I think the easy one, in a question here where there is no real answer, the easy one is that Shedeur plays well enough to where he at least earns another year and opens up all your options going forward, right? You win 6 or 7 games. You're excited about the offense. You see how these receivers can be used. And you feel like if a greater option doesn't present itself, that you can at least play him for another year, add whatever pieces are necessary, and go forward. That's the ideal one, because that's how you get out of this mess, is find a quarterback in the 5th round. I think the second best one is you just are really bad and you have a top 2 pick. You see guys play and develop, and as good as you feel now about the Grahams and Schlesingers and Judkins, you feel good about Fano and McNeil Warren and these receivers and a couple of those guys, and you go get that quarterback without having to pay that extra price, and then you pretty much have the blank slate with the Rams pick and all these other picks, right? And a team that's still going to be young. So those are the two best. And depending on what happens in the first 2 months of the season, that could change. You know, if there is a clear answer on Shedeur one way or the other, if something crazy would happen, and a quarterback would, you know, an option to add another quarterback would somehow be presented and that player fits, that would be great. You're not really ready to launch off until you have that piece, right? And just because they draft 1, 2, or 3 next year doesn't necessarily mean it either. But like you could see how everything lines up, right? Jared Verse is going to get extended. Schlesinger and Graham and Fannin and those guys are a year from getting extended. The rookie receivers are going to play a lot and learn on the fly this year, and at least one of them is probably going to be really, really good in 27, and maybe both of them, right? So, like, you could see how you're on to something there, and you need the quarterback. Like, the smart thing to do is to play Shedeur, sink or swim with Shedeur, get your answer there. You know, just try to let the other guys make plays, get them that experience that they need, and we'll see. We are overreacting to 6 days of training camp. There is no doubt about it. But what we see matches what we think. And, you know, what we've seen for 3 decades of this franchise is just completely inept quarterback play. They're all on the wall behind me. That's one card of all 42 starters from 1999.
Oh, that is beautiful.
That's actually kind of cool. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah. So there's room for a few more in there. It's a 50-card folder.
Oh no. We can't have that.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get to 43 this year. I do think that 3 quarterbacks will start. I don't think Taylor Green will be one of them. I think it's kind of year 0 more than year 1 for him. But I've been wrong before. And who would have ever seen PJ Walker coming or Joe Flacco coming?
Oh my gosh, that is crazy. I was thinking it would be funny if there was an all left-handed quarterback room in Atlanta and they took on Dylan Gabriel. I just think the southpaw quarterback room would have been hilarious.
How about that? The first one of 42 was the first lefty was Dylan Gabriel.
That's amazing, and all of that.
Think about that.
Wow. I mean, it's kind of crazy because I was just thinking in baseball how there are nights when the Guardians will throw out. Now, granted, a couple of the people are switch hitters, but they'll throw up an entire left-handed lineup. And I feel like as a left-hander, there were never lefties around. I'm like, what is going on here? It just unfathomable. Absolutely unfathomable.
True story, Mike, you'll appreciate. On the flight to London last year, we knew they were going to Gabriel. The announcement was going to be made the next morning, but there was no internet. So I had the whole flight to go through without being able to look it up, go through all these quarterbacks and say there had to be a left-hander somewhere. No, not him. And I'm just on this flight, just punching myself in the face repeatedly, thinking about all this. And then the next day I sat in my hotel room in London and watched the press conference back in Berea because the team didn't fly till that night.
Wow, that is crazy. So, okay, so we do have, I just have a couple more questions for you. And we did actually, thanks James for joining. One, I'm actually in Richmond, Virginia, James. So I don't know what's going on in Parkersburg, but James wants to know, do you think, so you don't think Dylan will be traded before the season, Zach?
As of right now, there's no chance. There's no chance he'll be traded. Now, could that be totally different in 4 days or 4 weeks? Absolutely.
Right.
But right now,
depending on injuries somewhere or whatever it could be. I gotcha.
Yes.
I gotcha. Okay. Circling back to a question about media coverage, and this bugs me from my journalistic background when I see people get upset with media members because you don't reveal a source and they assert that you're lying. You work for The Athletic. You can't just make stuff up. And I would just love for you to clear up the people, the process you have to go through to put pen to paper and to publish it. And the vetting process that goes with it.
Yeah. So say I have a scoop.
Yep.
I have to, tell my bosses, my editors that I have the scoop. Before we can go, I have to get it a second source to confirm it. And then before it touches the digital paper, I have to tell my bosses who that source is. Now we'll probably print it as anonymous source, league source, team source,
right,
whatever, but it'll be printed as source told and then was documented. And then I have to tell who that source is in case it has to be traced later. So I think what people do is like you'll say, hey, that was a really bad passing day today, and people will tweet you source. Like, no, that's not how it works. Right?
I see that all the time.
Yeah. But if I'm breaking a story on a contract negotiation or some meeting that happened that this was decided in, right? Like then I have to cite and I have to tell my boss who it was, and I have to go to a second source and confirm it. And there happens all the time to where you'll get beat on the story where you're documenting, or sometimes you'll find out that your first information was bad. And that's why you wait. That's why the race to be first is silly and not always productive, right? Because if you just put it out there before you vet it, like I've gone to Browns people and say, hey, I know this is going on. Help me here. And they'll be like, whoa. Say that again. Okay. Your first two are right, but your third one is way.
Okay.
Now I go back and now we confirm it. And now it's a source told The Athletic or a source confirmed to The Athletic. Right. But yeah, we would never, it never hits print without me having to tell someone in the chain of command who it is.
Thank you. Thank you. For the love of God, I wish people would listen to this, because it drives me absolutely bonkers when they go nuts over a story that comes out and there's leaks. And I'm like, you guys are ass clowns. These people don't just make this stuff up. They have to build a rapport with people, and obviously, and you can't name them in the story because otherwise they wouldn't talk to you.
Well, and another thing that's got lost in this race to be first and just the scoop, and nobody reads beyond that, is that sometimes you cultivate sources and they tell you things and you don't report it, and that's how you earn their trust for when you can report it. Yep. Right. Or sometimes that person who's told you three things and turned out to be right once you vetted it out, maybe isn't right the fourth time. So you still have to vet it out, or you end up looking like the dumbass.
Exactly. I know they taught you well at Ohio University. I know they taught. I know they taught you well there. Okay, I got one fun question for you because I know you've got lots of stuff to do. Last night, I was doing another podcast. We had a West Coast guy on from the Guardians organization, and I was asking him, well, what do you know about like burger places? Are you an In-N-Out guy? Are you, what have you tried Swenson's? And he actually said, I'm a Five Guys dude. I'm like, but he knows Swenson's. He gives credit to Swenson's. Okay. I know you're a Swenson's guy. So I just want to know, what's your unbiased opinion on Five Guys, being a Swenson's dude?
It's okay. It's the first thing I ate in London. I can tell you that. But no, I don't like In-N-Out. Five Guys is okay. I really don't eat burgers anymore unless it's at Swenson's or right off my grill in my backyard.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Like my wife and I actually went to Five Guys about a month ago. It was a totally random thing. We were somewhere totally out of routine, and we just decided to stop and eat because she has a gluten allergy, and Five Guys is friendly to that. But that in London are the only two times in 6 years that I've eaten Five Guys.
Okay. All right. Well, because of your background and how I know you are loyal to Swenson's, then I feel better about the Five Guys discussion here. I know that we talked to Gerard Cherry. He was on with us a few weeks ago, and he was talking about the amazing, was it like gas station food he got there? He's like, I'm getting pot stickers. He was very impressed.
Where was this?
In London. In London. He's telling us a story about the place he went to and the food he got. We were cracking up. Gerard's hilarious.
I did not eat at a gas station in London. Not that I remember anyway. I did find a bar where Nick Foles' jersey was hanging from the rafters. But I did not eat at a gas station. At least I don't think so.
Okay. Well, that's probably good. That is probably good. Last one for you here. Just what do you think the record is this season for the Browns?
I think they win 3 or 4, and I think that's a success. I think it's a young team and it's not ready to win. I think the offense is absolute mud right now. And as long as there's development of the young players and a chance to go, answer the ultimate question, then I think it's a success. There's a million ways it can go and will go, but there's no way right now on August 4th that you can tell me that winning 6 games proves anything. It probably just derails this team's future.
Yeah,
I could be wrong about that, but I'm convinced.
I think that as you said, you've only seen what you've seen in such a short time period. You've seen so much in your time covering that you have a
I've
pretty
seen
good idea.
Deshaun Watson play football, and it's awful. It was a bad idea years ago, and it's a worse idea now.
Oh
So
my
let
God.
the young kids play and just see what happens.
Yeah, were you surprised by the Myles Garrett trade, or were you getting, catching wind of that?
I didn't know it was going to happen on June 1st at noon, but I had a pretty good idea it was going to happen. It was time. And I backed it. I support it. I think it was the best move for all parties.
Yeah.
And I think as long as the Browns capitalize from there, which could be using that ammo to trade up and get their quarterback, or could be just using that ammo to continue to add new players to build that new core. It was time to go. They and Myles were not going to resolve their ongoing disputes. They just weren't. Philosophical and things that happened, and it was time.
Which opponent are you looking forward most to seeing? Former Cleveland opponent or person, Baker or Kevin this year?
I don't even know when that Falcons game is. I know it's late in the season, so
it's at home. I do know that.
Yeah, it's at home. Yeah, I would say Baker. I'd say that's a big game for both sides. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, Zach, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us. This is an absolute pleasure. Really, really appreciate all the insight. And you've always got an open door here. We love having you on, and we'll have you in for Tottenham discussions as well.
I got to brush up. I got 2 weeks. I know I got to brush up on my football.
Your football. Well, tomorrow night we are going to have Emmett Golden on with us because he is a huge Tottenham supporter.
Okay.
So we are going to be talking some Tottenham tomorrow night, and I will leave it to the experts here, Mike and Drew, who follow it even more closely than I do, far more closely than I do. But no, again, thank you so much for all of your time, Zach, and I really appreciate it.
All right, guys.
Yep, and you have yourself a great night, sir. Enjoy the Hall of Fame week. Enjoy training camp, and I think hopefully I'll see you on Saturday up in Berea.
I'll be there.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yeah,
thank you very
much.
All right, Zach Jackson, everybody, really appreciate him being on, and I'm going to kick him from the studio. And that takes that's the easiest way to do. Guys, Zach was fantastic. Really appreciate him being here. That was very, very informative. I can't wait to get even more information. Another practice will be in the books when we talk to Emmett Golden tomorrow. And he's unapologetic. He gives it a very fair assessment. What did you guys, what takeaways did you have from what Zach had to tell us here tonight, fellas? Mike?
Great. How many wins did we get last season?
5.
And he thinks we're going to get less despite adding 2 wide receivers in the draft. Great.
Well, hey, look, anything can happen.
But then again, like he said, Browns are probably better off being a 3 or 4 win team because it then puts you in position to get a quarterback. Whereas if you get 6 or 7, you'd miss out on a top 5 pick most likely, and then you screw yourself for the future. So,
right, it's that whole thing of if Sanders is the guy and you feel comfortable with him for another year, and he wins you, and you win 6, 7, 8 games, and you're like, okay, we're good with him for another year. We don't need to find our savior at quarterback. Mm-hmm. Then you're like, okay. All right, we're good. But if you win 6, 7 games and you're going, oh, this is terrible, and we can't count on this guy, and now you're stuck in the middle of the first round somewhere and you can't move up, then you're hosed. So yep. I think that's where you kind of sit here. Drew, what were your takeaways?
I mean, I just appreciate how open and honest he really is, because you don't see reporters anywhere that are just blunt and straightforward with what they say and what they do, because he could be every other reporter we hear from, where he just beats around the bush, and he's like, oh, well, here's all this positivity. We could look forward to something. He's like, no, the team looks bad. I'm not going to cut it. The team looks bad. And I'd rather someone tell me straight up that the team looks bad, because it makes me prepare for the season of, okay, go into the season with even as a Browns fan, we should probably go to every season with 0 expectations. That's just how we all go into it. But just hearing a reporter say it himself, it screams volumes of listen, It's either top 5 pick or bust, basically. And I to be honest, like you said, I'd rather take the 3-4 wins, get a top 5 pick, get a future guy, and
yeah, I mean, it's a matter of, look, if we're not going to if Sanders isn't the guy, like he said, he used words I've used before, sink or swim with him.
Yeah.
If he's not the guy, then I want to be picking top 3 or 4.
Well, and I've been preaching on this show, on my other show, I've been preaching start Gabriel day one, or not Gabriel, start Shedeur day one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And see what you have in him all season long. And if he shows any kind of promise, that's who you work with. Like you said, that's who you go with. If he gets you those wins and he looks really good doing it, or even just solid doing it, then roll with it. Just build a little bit around him and roll with it. But you need to see if you need another quarterback. And that's why I've always advocated to start Shedeur Sanders all season long, because I would rather see, hey, is he NFL caliber? If he's not, cool, we could draft a QB, or we can go get a good vet who's available if there is one. Then we know what we need. But I'm not going to sit here and play this game of Watson playing 6-7 games, gets injured, and then we play another half a season of Shedeur. We have no idea what.
Exactly.
So I'd rather not play that guessing game anymore and just be like straightforward and be like, hey, look, Shedeur did okay. We might have to think about getting another guy here.
Exactly.
Or he's really bad. We have to get a new guy.
Yep. Or he is the guy, and we can move forward with this plan.
Yeah.
Did you something that struck me? He said, "I don't know how much is left in that shoulder."
Yeah,
when he talked about how many throws he has left, that's a bad sign. It is so funny.
I was trying not to laugh when he said about that, but then I was like, actually, it's kind of ironic because his last good stand-up performance was the Baltimore game where he injured himself, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. And he may have actually gotten it injured in the week before when he decided to be a hero against Tennessee.
That was his last stand-up performance when he was playing with an upper body injury.
Yeah, I mean, it's just insane. And
you can see in the videos. You can see in the videos his arm doesn't look that strong. It looks pretty weak. Like his balls have, and I'm not going to be the Twitter guys that be the ball does have zip on it. But if you watch it, the ball actually doesn't have zip on it when he throws it. It kind of wobbles, and his throw motion looks kind of weird a little bit. It's like I don't think he has much of anything in that tank in his shoulder. Like his shoulder just looks gone.
Right, and as Zach said, but for the contract, he wouldn't be here.
But
yeah.
That's the only reason he is here.
Yeah.
But when he was talking about the offense, we're probably going to have to play with Deshaun out there. I was like, that's just basically the same offense that we were using with Dylan Gable, basically, isn't it? Short passes through the middle, shit like not getting the wide receivers to stretch open the offense. Like,
if that's his arm, then yeah. If that is his arm, that is what it is. I think that this sounds to me like, from what I'm gathering, and I'll be very curious to see what this looks like in person. And again, we'll talk to Emmett tomorrow, folks who are watching now, and everybody tune in tomorrow, 7 p.m. We will have Emmett Golden. He is co-host of The Next Level, ESPN Cleveland, 850 WKNR. He is co-host of Hammer and Emmett on ESPN National Radio, and also appears on weeknights on Game Night on ESPN National Radio. He's everywhere. Emmett is, again, very fair. We'll have to ask him his thoughts on this. But again, I think that this is Shedeur's job for the taking. It really is. It is absolutely his for the taking. And I hope he grabs it and runs with it, and he improves. It sounds as if, from what Daryl Ryder posted shortly before we got started, the biggest issue is procedural stuff with Shedeur. It's getting out of the huddle. It's getting all of those types of things. If he could do that, and maybe he can with some good coaching. Did you also find it interesting that he didn't think that, despite what the media would have you believe, or what a lot of the reporting and the social media said, that Kevin Stefanski didn't stunt his growth last year? Were you guys kind of surprised by that?
A little bit, yeah. Because you think with the way Kevin's been coaching and the way the quarterbacks have looked under Stefanski, you'd think it would stunt him even just a little bit. But I guess he didn't, and it kind of just shocks me a little bit.
Yeah, I was surprised, but that was a very funny story about him throwing to the equipment guys and how that got blown out of proportion.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Cleveland is one of those markets where we overanalyze everything, especially as fans, because we go on Twitter and like, we think we know absolutely everything. And it's like, guys, you've been on your couch for 15 years. You don't know jack about football. Who cares if he's throwing to guys who, guys who are not even on the roster? They're just, guys who make your jersey. Like,
you're right, exactly. Well, and we also, it's not even just that. We don't have the full story. We're not there. Like he talked about it today, the Jerry Jeudy play.
Yeah.
The fact that some people, an amazing catch, but what it really was incomplete. He double caught it, which Gerard Cherry was mentioning on the, live on the air from training camp. And again, it's nuts because there is no vetting what goes out on social media from Joe Blow. If I go to training camp and I post something without all the full details, it's not to be taken as the gospel. And so when someone says this guy's out there throwing with equipment people, do you really understand why? And I guess it doesn't matter. The Browns organization is like, look, we don't need to answer to you fools. You guys can say whatever you want to say and think whatever you want to think, but we don't owe you an explanation.
Oh, and I didn't think about this until now, but it was the people overblowing when Shedeur Sanders held the ball and then ran out of bounds like a couple of days ago.
Yes.
And the media people were saying it was planned, like those were actual planned plays that they had in case if he needs it. They were just regular scramble plays where they wanted him to purposely step back, look, and then take it and kind of just run with it. They're not saying like, hey, do what you normally do. They said it was regular scramble plays where he steps back, scrambles, and then runs out of bounds once the guy meets him. So, again, those were people on the internet blowing it out of proportion. Like, oh, here we go. He's holding on to the ball for 7 seconds and he's holding it on too long. And it's like, now you're getting the full story of it was on purpose. It was planned. Right. It was an actual play that they have not like actually designed for a game, but it was just a planned practice play. And so again, it's one of those things where everyone on their phones blow it out of proportion and they think they know everything. And it's like, oh, here we go. He's holding on to the ball for 20 years. Like, get rid of it. It's like, no, like you got to understand, like some of this stuff is probably planned and you can't just believe or anything like some random guy who just went to training camp today, had 6 beers and, is like, oh, he looks awful. He did this. And it's like, well, there's got to be a lot more context to what you just said. There's got to be. That's why when it comes to training camp and preseason, I always take everything with a massive grain of salt because you don't know what's going on in those training camps, especially if you've never played a down of football in your life.
Yeah. And I'm going to say it right here. And I got questioned on my football acumen by somebody last year, something I posted, and there was a discussion about whether it was the Browns or otherwise, but you've never played any football in your life. You have no idea, but I don't even know what the comment was, but I said, just because I haven't played though, I will say you can still be knowledgeable about the game. Certain things, right. It's more so you don't have the inside information. It's just like when guys run the all 22.
Yeah.
And they think they know what the play call was, and they think they know what went wrong or what they did here and there and elsewhere based upon all their knowledge. But maybe that's not the case. And the coach can't necessarily tell you that, nor do they owe you that explanation. But it is some people's jobs to do that, right? But it's become more accessible to internet sleuths who go on and find these things. I meant to ask Zach, and I'm going to have to remember to at least ask Emmett tomorrow about what they're learning, if the coaches mentioned anything about what they're seeing through the eyes of the camera on the quarterback helmet. Is that helping them in any way, shape, or form to figure out what the quarterback is looking at? I know it's not their eyesight. Obviously, their eyes are moving, but at least their head. It's like
webcam in football now, isn't it? Like soccer. You can see from that angle, like the replay of the
exactly
what the ref is seeing,
where their head is pointed. So it's not their eye movement, but at least you have an idea. Like, okay, he looked left. Okay, so they would say to him, "Well, we see here clearly that you turned your head this way. This is what it was. Why did you do X? Or why did you?"
Yeah,
I do wonder though, in like the classroom, do they put these footage on the screen or whatever, and then ask
very
them,
possibly?
Like, to
I'm sure they do.
What they were seeing, and like with that kind of footage, like what was in their mind at this moment? Like what kind of read were they reading?
No, I think that's please don't. I'm gonna have to put it in the notes. Don't let me forget to ask Emmett.
Because in the interviews for the draft, they were kind of semi doing that, but on like more on like a whiteboard, weren't they? Like
right, they have to do a whiteboard, and they'll ask them sometimes. And I believe this is simply to the best of my understanding. They will ask them to sketch out a play.
Yeah.
And okay, on this play, what did you see, or what did you do here, and how would you handle this? It seems like it's general knowledge type of a thing. And I believe, if I recall correctly, I don't know if it was with Shedeur Sanders or somebody else, during the whiteboard thing, they went through a play, and maybe the coach or whomever was going through it with them thought they should have done one thing, but they did another because that's what their coaches told them to do. And it's very important. I guess let's put a bow on it. Context matters. Context matters. I mean, the same, kind of like the fact that there were the people who posted online about booing Deshaun Watson and heckling Deshaun Watson. Maybe it wasn't that big of a deal. Maybe it was just a few people. Just like when Deshaun Watson got hurt, there were initial stories. Oh, they were all booing him. It was maybe a few people. They may not have even been Browns fans, and we're blowing it out of proportion. We really don't know. But this is going to be a fascinating season, as per the usual, fellas.
It's
never a dull moment.
Basically confirming that Watson shouldn't see a minute on the field come the season.
I think so, and
that's kind of the main takeaway that I've got from this is like that Watson shouldn't be playing. Like,
I think so.
Even if Shedeur comes out and doesn't play well, Dylan Gable's probably the move. Like
right there. And again, I want to get into this. Tomorrow will be a great data point, guys. You've got to remind me, folks who are watching now, be sure to tune in. This is going to be a great conversation. We won't have Emmett for long, but I want to get into it with him a little bit. Today on the quarterback tracker, I mentioned this to you fellas. Shedeur had 25 pass attempts. Watson had 11. Gabriel had 7. Correct, guys? So between the two of them, they had 18. Now, it was Shedeur's day with the ones. My question will be tomorrow. If they do something similar with Watson with the ones, what will the numbers look like? What will the percentages look like? Because Todd Monken said, will there be clues as to who might be leading into the starter role? And he talked about the number of snaps, the percentages. Well, I'm just saying that's kind of odd that Watson and Gabriel, not exactly even, but the fact that Gabriel earned more snaps, I feel like if there's a role for Gabriel, he is potentially climbing up Watson's backside, where Watson might end up moving down to number 3.
And there's this feeling I've had, even before the season started in training camp, that could slightly happen too, where Deshaun, because again, my biggest concern this offseason was the shoulder of Deshaun Watson. And I was like, there could be a very good chance that Dylan creeps up on him and takes that QB2 job. And that's probably why we haven't gotten rid of him, is because you're going to need a QB2. And what if Taylor Green starts to come about and he takes that QB3 role? Deshaun could slide down. Again, this is the last year of his $230 million guaranteed contract. So, or is it one more? I think
well, year. Well, this is the year. This is the best year to financially cut him, I think.
Yeah, right. This is the best year to financially cut him.
Post June 1st cut. This is the last year of his contract. He still has, I believe,
an option.
Two
No,
more.
he's got 2 like fake years built into his contract.
2 dead cap year. 2
Yeah,
years
Okay,
of
do
dead cap.
years. Okay, that's what it
The
is.
dead cap years. But this is the last
yeah.
year of his contract. This is the last of the 5 freaking disastrous years of his
Yeah.
contract. In what is arguably will go down as the worst
trade in
trade
NFL history.
in NFL history, possibly in North American sports history. I mean, this rivals the Saints trading their entire draft to get Ricky Williams. This rivals the Herschel Walker trade in the 80s.
But how many first-round picks did we give up?
3. Yeah.
Three.
We gave up 3. I think we gave up a total of like 6 picks. If I
And we
remember.
gave up a second round pick in one of those years as well, because there was one year where we didn't draft.
Yeah.
Like third
Yep.
round.
I believe we gave up 6 picks, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I think it was. I could always look it up too, but
yeah,
I think it was.
that up, that'd be great.
I think it was 3 firsts, like 2 seconds, and like a third or something.
I believe you're correct, and it was just ridiculous. One day, and we talked about sources with Zach. One day,
I found it.
All right, what you got, Drew? What you got on the fact checker here?
It was 3 first-round picks, the 22, 23, and 24 first-round picks.
Gotcha.
A 2022 fourth-round pick, a 2023 third-round pick, and a 2024 fourth-round pick.
Okay, so there were no seconds included, but we wasted a second to get what's his name from Elijah Moore from the Jets.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, because if it says here, obviously it tells you who they got to, because they used the 13th overall pick to get Kenyon Green.
This is the Texans, folks.
The Texans, folk. Yeah, this is the Texans. They used 107 overall to get Dameon Pierce. Then they used the 2023 first-round pick to get Will Anderson,
right,
which was the 12th overall. The third-round pick to get Tank Dell. And then the 24th first-round pick was used to get quarterback Kamari Lassiter and linebacker Jamal Hill.
Okay.
And then their last pick that they had, the 2024 fourth rounder, was used to get Kalen Bullock, the safety.
Okay. Yeah, I think
Will Anderson was a decent pick.
Will Anderson and Tank Dell were probably the 2 better picks, I think, because Tank Dell became a really good receiver for them.
Absolutely. I mean, certainly, I don't think that the Texans made out like bandits, but they sure as hell made out better than the Browns did. Let me tell you that. And I think that one day there will be.
Who do you rather have, C.J. Stroud or bloody what?
Oh, C.J. Stroud, 1,000%.
So I mean,
yeah.
they wouldn't have C.J. Stroud right now if they had made that trade with us. So
no, we would have probably drafted C.J. Stroud.
Sure. I mean, I don't know. When did they draft? Well, wait, which year did they draft Stroud? Was that in the same? Was that the same?
2024, I believe, was Stroud's rookie year.
Okay,
or was it
2023?
Yeah, he's been in the league a few years because he had a great rookie year. Then he's kind of steadily declined. I think he's played 3 seasons, guys. I think 23.
Yeah, because I think 2023 was the year they beat us in the playoffs.
In the playoffs, right? And he didn't play, and that was his rookie season. He didn't play in the first matchup, and then and the fact we threw 2 pick sixes in a row.
Yeah, that was. Good old
and our defense, our Jim Schwartz run, magical defense, let guys run wide ass open. It is why, and really it was Joe Woods, but Jim Schwartz, helped continue it. That is why going nuclear is full blown coverage of the land.
Well, we got his rankings, and his safety was his number 1 ranking.
Yeah,
his position group, the safety is his number 1. That tells you all you need to know, guys.
Yeah, this is but he, for Zach, he talked about obviously the wide receiver room is vastly improved. And he mentioned Jerry Jeudy. He's here because of his contract. He stinks. That guy, he had 1 good season on a team that was very bad. And other than that, he has been a massive disappointment for his entire career, which kind of interesting. There's been good receivers out of Alabama, so I can't make any widespread comment as to players from this school or that school, but there's a trend certainly where You want a pretty solid wide receiver, a pretty good known commodity. Ohio State's pretty good known commodity for wide receivers these days.
It's like go there. It's got like go Ohio State or go like LSU. That's like that one.
Right. Those seem to be two of the best right now. And it seems like Alabama, they've had some very good wide receivers, but they've had some ones that haven't been so good. What happened to, Ryan Williams? I wonder if he's going to kind of come back to toward the top of the pack this year or not. He had an amazing freshman year last year, terrible. I can't wait for college football season, guys. And we may have discussed this, or at least I've heard starting this week with the Hall of Fame game. We have football now in some.
Kenny Pickett in the state of Ohio. He's finally going to play a game.
Hey.
In some form or fashion, we now have football from now until middle of February. Whether it's NFL, whether it's college, whether it's high school, we've got football through February now, guys. And we were having an interesting discussion. Kenny Pickett has probably made enough money that if he never played again, he probably could live a very comfortable life. But I think unless he has a very, he spends a lot on gloves. Those can get very expensive for his tiny mitts. He might. I think he has a whole room.
Yeah, Kenny Pickett's small fingers are probably more useful than Watson's broken shoulder. That's never going to produce against Watson.
Do you think Kenny Pickett did a Willie Mays Hayes where he has like he nails his gloves onto the wall?
He may very well. My first touchdown pass, nail that one up on the wall.
Every touchdown pass, he nails a pair of gloves on the wall.
I got 50 of these.
I got 50 of these. I only threw 15 touchdowns. I don't know what to do with the others.
He gets the bedazzled glove. He likes the Michael Jackson look.
Yeah.
No, that's kind of crazy. Well, guys, we have gone on long enough. We will be back again tomorrow night. Everybody, thank you for being with us. Tomorrow night, tune in. There will be posts on social media. Joining us tomorrow, special guest from ESPN Cleveland, co-host of the Next Level, Emmett Golden, also co-host of Hammer and Emmett. He's on ESPN National Radio. He's on Game Night, I believe Mondays through Wednesdays. He's all over the place. So be sure to tune in for that. Also going to hop on with us and be with us. He's got lots of stuff he's got to say about the Guardians, and we'll have more on them. Always Positive Jay will be with us as well tomorrow. It'll be a jam-packed show. This is going to be fantastic. So once again, tune in tomorrow night, 7 p.m., same bat time, same bat channel. Be sure to like and subscribe. Love the fact that everyone has stuck with us so late here. Really do appreciate it, but we will be back again with more of that. So for Drew Hagenbaugh, for Mike Pellegrini, I'm Ethan Greenberg, and you've been tuned in to Going Nuclear, full-blown coverage of the Land right here on the Land Multimedia Group.